Hello, wonderful attendees. I'm your host, Dalvinder Kaur from lovely Professional University. Get ready to dive into today's topic that is Beyond the Obvious Decoding Facts of Indian Society Through Art. Before we proceed further, allow me to introduce the experts of the day Dr. Manvendra Singh, Professor and HOD, History and Sociology, Lovely Professional University. He has over 15 years of experience in teaching, research, and industry. He has published 4 books and 65 research articles. Dr. Singh has guided multiple PhD and PG students and more. So now I would like to introduce Dr. Manavpreet Kaur, visiting faculty and postdoctoral researcher, Department of History of Art, Indian Institute of Heritage. Welcome, Dr. Manavpreet Kaur. So now I would like to introduce the admission nominee also in this webinar, Mr. Bhuvan Sareen, Assistant Director at the Department of Tie-Ups with the expertise in forging partnership and empowering students through career counseling. Before we proceed further in today's session, I would like to request everyone for any questions. You can write in the chat box or in the Q&A box, and same will be addressed from my side in the end of this webinar. Now I'm going to hand over this session to our experts, Dr. Manvendra Singh and Dr. Manavpreet Kaur, and it would be an absolute delight to listen from them. Over to you both.
A very good morning to one and all, and thank you so much, Madam Dalvinder, for giving me this opportunity to invite a very reputed resource person for this particular session beyond the obvious, decoding the facets of Indian society through the artistic lens. It's an honor, it's a privilege to have among us Dr. Manopreet Kaur Arora, Madam, who is a distinguished postdoctoral researcher and a visiting faculty in the Department of History of Art at the Indian Institute of Heritage with the prestigious fellowship from Indian Council of Historical Research. A very warm welcome and a very good morning to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir.
Ma'am has accomplished her doctorate from the National Museum Institute of History of Art, Museology and Conservation in 2013. And apart from that, she is a double postgraduate in fine arts as well as history of art and has a double bachelor's degree in humanities and fine arts. She was also honored with Makhan Datta Award for Best Campaign in 2007. So, with this, now let's try to delve deeper upon this interesting topic about Indian art with its rich and very diversified history. That how this particular Indian society is impacted by, and how this form of Indian art and different forms of art serving both a kind of a mirror as well as a lens to the ever evolving societal landscape of this country, which is already very diversified. Whether I talk about the ancient cave paintings or whether I talk about the modern days street art, Indian art is not merely just an aesthetic or decorative expression, but in fact, it is a reflection of our traditional culture. It's a reflection of our old traditions. It is a reflection of our heritage. And it's a reflection of our polity. It's a reflection of our spirituality. It's a reflection of our social change. So, when we try to understand the Indian society through art, what I mean is how we can understand it in a very deeper manner, its various symbolical contexts, its various historical context, and the social issues that it is going to address. So, in this session, we are going to analyze different facets of Indian society, which are reflected through different forms of arts, and how it is going even beyond this surface level interpretations. So, with this, I am now handing over to our resource person to share more highlight in this regard. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir. Good morning and welcome to everyone. Today we are going to speak about beyond the obvious. So there are many obvious things about the society. There are many obvious things about what we generally perceive directly. But let us try to understand what are the underlying ideas and what are the various facets of Indian society through the medium of art. Now, today's lecture is going to be moving in a chronological manner where I will be showing you some artworks from the ancient period, moving on to the medieval, and then from the modern period onward. I have tried to include different mediums of art, which include sculpture, painting, and architecture as well. So let us look at the first example. I'm sure everyone is aware that this is the famous dancing girl found in Mohenjo-daro from the Indus Valley civilization. Now, we all know that art imitates society, and she belongs to the Iron Age. So, what aspect of society do we understand when we look at the dancing girl? So, first thing is that we're talking about a society which is known to metallurgy, it knows the lost wax process. But more importantly, when we look at the dancing girl, uh, she's one of a kind. You know, there are only two dancing girls. The first one is in the National Museum in New Delhi, and the second one is in the National Museum at Karachi. Now, with only these two examples and very similar in stance, we need to understand who is she and why is she represented like this. I mean, if you look at her, you look at her face, it is slightly tilting upward. She has her eyes closed. What does that really signify? It signifies that there is the concept of dhyan or meditation. And why is she called the dancing girl? Could she not be just another woman who's standing like this and, displaying her anger? No. She is the dancing girl because this is a classical dance posture which was codified much later in the 4th century in the Natya Shastra. Also, we see that she's semi-nude, but she's wearing ornaments. So wearing ornaments means that alankar is very important to the society, and it's a very fashionable society. And whenever we look at art and we try to understand various facets, especially in case of sculpture, we need to look at it from all the angles. So if I show you the back side, you can see that she has a very intricate hairstyle. Now, this basically shows that, a lot of things, a lot of ideas about Indus Valley being a very organized society, being, one of the earliest civilizations in the world to have a proper drainage system, all these things are very obvious. But then when we look at aspects such as this, when we try to understand the nuances of, how the dancing girl, for instance, has been carved, or why is she so important? Because when you look at only two figures such as these, and that too in the metal, it means that she was probably some kind of a celebrity dancer who would visit various towns of the Indus Valley civilization. So here again we come to know that entertainment becomes an important aspect of the Indus Valley civilization. This is another female figurine from the National Museum in Karachi. This is found from Harappa. Here also what we see is that she's wearing a girdle, she's wearing a necklace, she's also wearing a choker. Then when you look at her head, she's also wearing a garlanded hairband. But more than ornamentation, what I want to show is these two cup-like um, formations at the end of her fan-shaped headgear. Now, these cup-like head, formations, these basically show that probably a lamp was lighted and the female was a part of some kind of a ritual program. So females in the Indus Valley civilization, they were not just, meant for entertainment, but they were also worshipped. And when we talk about ornamentation, then a bead maker's kiln has also been found from Lothal. So we know that ornamentation, especially making of different kinds of beads. So if you visit the National Museum in Delhi or Karachi, you will find that in the jewelry section also, there are a lot of examples which have been displayed, and this is of course a proof of the same. Moving on to the Mauryan time period, which is 3rd century BCE. These are remains of Persepolis in Iran. Now, when we talk about India, India did not really have the same boundary as you have today. It extended from Afghanistan up to medieval, the central India. Now, these remains in Persepolis, why I'm showing you these are because, when you read a historical record like the one which is written by Megasthenes, he talks about the court of Chandragupta Maurya, which was in Patliputra. He said that a city stretching 9 miles along the bank of river Ganges with mighty wooden walls, pierced by 64 gates and surmounted by 570 towers. With so much, nothing of it remains today in India. But yes, Megasthenes does write that it is very similar to the remains to the city of Persepolis. So when we look at the city of Persepolis, and especially when you look at the second image, the pillars and the pillar capitals, and if you've seen the national emblem, you will realize that the influence is actually coming from Iran into India during the Mauryan Empire. So this is another aspect when you look at history from the point of view of not just what is existing in the country, but in other countries as well, where the influence actually travels to the country. And that gets fortified by the written records of people such as Megasthenes. Now, this is the Sanchi Mahastup from Madhya Pradesh. We all know that Buddhism became a very popular religion in the 2nd century. This is the entrance gateway, and it has 4 entrances, which are very beautifully and meticulously carved. Now, particularly, I want to show you the East Toran. Toran means the entrance. It's the scene of great departure of Buddha from the city of Kapilvastu. Now, we all know from historical records such as the Lalit Vistar that Prince Siddharth left his city in search of enlightenment. But where is Buddha here? You look at this. There is a chariot, there's a person who's holding the chhatra or the umbrella, but Buddha is not there. And that is because 2nd century did not allow Buddha to be represented in the human form. That means we're talking about early form of Buddhism, which is the Hinayana Buddhism. Okay, so this is one aspect that in the 2nd century, we do not look at Buddha in the human form, which we will see in the later time period. Another aspect here, which I want to show you, is when you look at these double-storied structures with a city gate made out of stone and brick walls. Now, these are descriptions of the city which are also mentioned in the Arthashastra written by Kautilya. Now, Arthashastra mentions that, there were huge city gates, the walls were made of bricks, there was a moat outside, in fact, a 3-level moat outside the city. And the gate was lined up by double-storied structures where people would actually stand and watch processions which were going on. So this kind of architecture, because earlier, like we've seen in the Maurya time period also, the architecture was constructed out of wood, which is a perishable material. So none of it survives today. But here what we can see is, like when you look at the stone, when you look at the bricks, there were permanent structures, but unfortunately they do not survive today. So how do we know what kind of architecture existed in the society? It is only through these remains in art that we understand how the society lived during that time period. Now, this is 4th century onward. When we look at, this is an example of a painting from Ajanta cave number 1. And here what we see is the figure of Buddha. So Buddha started being represented in the human form, which is the Mahayana form of Buddhism. Now here, what I want to show you is Buddha is in the Dharma Chakra Pravartan Mudra. Dharma Chakra Pravartan Mudra means that he's basically giving the sermon. So whenever you see Buddha giving sermon and you see the representation of the deer, we refer to it as the deer park because that's where he gave the first sermon in Sarnath. So by this time, let us say, the sign language of mudras, of asanas, this had already developed. But this particular example that I'm showing you of the fresco painting is not just because of the transition from the aniconic to the iconic form of Buddha, but also you can see that this is King Mahajanak who is receiving the sermon. Now, we need to understand how the society has changed from Indus Valley time period, where we do not really see much of fabrics. The females are generally shown as nude. It is only the priest figure that is wearing a cloth. with the pattern. But here we see that the society has really developed in terms of textiles. So let us say this textile that the king is wearing, this is known as the ikat pattern. The woman here is wearing a tie and dye. The person standing at the back is wearing some kind of a brocade. Then there is another one who's wearing a checkered pattern, and yet another one with a block print. So what we need to understand is how the garments are being stitched and what kind of fabrics exist. See, again, the cloth is a perishable material. How do we know what existed in the society in the 4th to 6th century? It is only through examples such as these that you see in art. Now, moving on further, we look at some early examples of cave architecture. So this is a general view from the Rashtrakuta dynasty. Now, during the Rashtrakuta dynasty, you can see I have shown you 3 caves at the bottom. There is cave number 10, which is known as the Vishkarma cave, cave 16, which is Kailashnath temple, and cave 32, which is the Indrasabha. Now, why I'm showing you these 3 caves is because cave number 10 is a Buddhist cave, cave 16 is a Hindu temple, and cave 32 is a Jain temple, which means that during the rule of the Rashtrakuta dynasty, which was from 6th to 10th century in the Deccan area, you have a syncretic society where people are living. So this is like, so you have about 34 caves, where cave number 1 to 10 are Buddhist caves, cave 11 to 32 are Hindu caves, and 32 to 34 are Jain caves. So you have at one particular place 3 different religions which are existing or coexisting, let us say, in a very peaceful manner. Now that's a great thing and something that we need to understand today because the way the society is changing, we need to understand how syncretism existed in the earlier time period. And since Hinduism got more patronage rather than Buddhism or Jainism, there is one very fine example that we see. I wonder if you can all recognize this temple. This is a Lakshman temple from Khajuraho. Now, Khajuraho was basically built from 9th to 13th century by the Chandela dynasty. So what we have seen is, from the rock cut architecture, you are moving into the structural architecture. Again, where you see that the temple is growing both horizontally and vertically. And the entire temple is being carved in a very beautiful manner. Now, these carvings again say a lot about the society. So I'll show you one example again from here. This is the wall detail of the Good Mandap from the Kandarya Mahadeva temple at Khajuraho. We all know that Khajuraho is famous for erotic sculptures. Now, why would erotic sculptures be represented on the wall of a temple? We need to understand that the society during the Chandela dynasty was perhaps very liberal and very open. And they looked at eroticism as a creation of God. They looked at these sculptures or the idea of calm or pleasure as something which was divine. So the ideas that we have today about sexuality in society were perhaps very different. You have couples, you have people of the same sex, you have men and animals. So the idea of Kam Shastra or Kama Sutra, which was written in the 4th century up to the 13th century that we see here, that has existed in a very free society, which of course we do not see today. So these are some notions that we need to understand from the sculptures of this architecture. Now, we all know with the Islamic invasion, a lot of things changed. But before I talk to you about how Islam changed the country, I'm going to show you a very interesting folio. This is a page from a text called, or a manuscript called the Nimmatnama, which is a book of delicacies. Now here, what you can see is this is from the Sultanate. So when we talk about the Islamic rule in India, it is basically broadly divided into Sultanate and Mughal. Now, the Book of Delights, as it is known as, or the Book of Delicacies, this was patronized by Nasir Shah, and it was from the end of the 15th century, and he was very fond of food. So those of you who've not had the breakfast will probably be very hungry, because if I told you this particular illustration, you can see Nasir Shah is going to be receiving some samosas, and there is also kheer which is being prepared. So in the script here, in the Nastaliq script here, it is basically the delicacy and the procedure of preparing that delicacy which is written. So when we look at paintings such as these, we understand, say for example, the history of food. So it is not just history of art or his political history or economic history. There are very interesting facets about this society. So there are some delicacies, for example, that you go back to the Sultanate time period and you see how they were being prepared. In fact, this book also contains the art of perfumery and making essences. So that is very interesting, because again, this kind of a written record about the Sultanate, and the changes that the Sultanate brought to the country, the kind of dishes that they brought to the country, this has also been documented through a medium like art. This is again a painting from the Mughal time period. It's a folio showing the construction of the Agra fort from Akbarnama. Akbarnama is basically a manuscript from Akbar's time period. Now, this again is a written record and a visual record of the construction of the fort. Now, Abul Fazl, who was a historian during Akbar's time period, he mentions that around 8 years were the time period for the construction of fort, and 4,000 people were involved in the construction. But then not much detail is given about the methods of construction, for instance. But here, if you see at the end of the folio, here you can see that the stone is being brought through the boats. So, where the sandstone is coming from, it is through the Yamuna River that the sandstone was transported to the site of Agra, and then the fort, the Badalgarh fort, which was destroyed, and the construction of the Agra fort began. There is also another interesting detail here. You can see that there is a Banjara woman who is also contributing to the construction. So we know that, from the Mughal time period also, women were also involved in the construction process. You can also see that there is a hawker who is selling food. You can see that there are people, for instance, you can see there's a person who's going to be serving water, there's a person who's washing clothes. So this folio again is a very lively picture. It's an interesting folio which gives you a glimpse into the time period when the fort was being constructed during the Mughal time period. um, this is another painting from Jahangir's time period, made by an artist called Bichitra. And here I would like you to focus on, one thing. One is, of course, you can see Jahangir, who is seated on an hourglass. Now, an hourglass is not something that is native to India. It is not an object which was found in India, because India, you don't have this idea of measurement of time. And we can also see that he's glorifying himself with a halo behind his head of the sun and the moon. But then there are these flying figures. These are these flying cupids. So there are two things that I would like to discuss here. One is, of course, the cupids and the hourglass, and another is the people who are here. So here we can see that the focus of the painting is Jahangir is receiving he's preferring the Sufi sheikh. He's receiving a copy of the Quran from the sheikh. But let us look at the detail here. So this is the detail of the hourglass. Now this hourglass with these gargoyle figures, this is basically a European influence. And the cupids also come to the Mughal court in terms of these paintings, we understand, through the European influence. Now the carpet that you see at the back with these intricate patterns and these figures, these are Persian influences. So what I'm trying to tell you is that in this particular folio from the Mughal time period, especially from Jahangir's time period, we look that there is an influence of Europe and Persia. So how these influences are traveling, that means the court was in touch with people, and that is why we come to these people. So this is a representation of King James the First, who comes to visit the Mughal court. Then there is the Ottoman king, the Persian king, who again comes to visit Jahangir. And at the end, what we see is the self-portrait of the artist Vichitra, who has come to present a painting to the emperor. Now, this brings me to another important point, that the identity of the artist here becomes very important, apart from the influences that I just talked about. So there's European influence and there's Persian influence. But then, when you talk about Khajuraho temples, or when you go back to Sanchi Stoop, or even when you go back to Indus Valley, we do not know who have created these artworks. The names of the artists are anonymous. The names of people are anonymous. It is only the patrons that we are aware of. The Chandelas, for example, they built, but who were the actual people, that we do not know. But there are inscriptions which give you the name of the architects. So here also what we see is the emerging identity of the artist. This is a fresco painting. Fresco means a wall painting from Amritsar. It is from the Gurdwara Baba Atal Rai. And here what we see is Guru Nanak is applying a tilak to Guru Angad Dev for giving him the Gurgaddi. That is, he's appointing him as the next Guru. Now, why I'm showing you this particular painting again is because when you look at this tradition of applying tilak on the forehead, this does not exist today. When we talk about the Sikhs, they are considered to be very different from the Hindus. But then when we talk about, the culture that existed during the time of Guru Nanak, we understand that the society again was very syncretic. There was no difference in the rituals that were followed. Of course, I'm not trying to say that Hindus and Sikhs are alike, but what I'm trying to say is that a lot of ritual practices that are visible in these fresco paintings do not exist today, and they're not accepted as a part of the Sikh culture. So how culture has changed over a period of time, this can also be one of the aspects that we need to look at when we study society and history. Then how art influences society, we have seen. This is, of course, the image of the artist Ravi Verma, Raja Ravi Verma, who had created these oleographs or these calendar prints. Now, he was the first person who gave faces to the Indian gods and goddesses. But one important change that came to the society through him was the setting up of the printing press, where he made his artworks affordable and cheaper so that they could reach pan India. So when art reaches out to people, a lot of changes happen. Art is not going to be limited to few people, just the patrons or just a few officers or ministers, but it is extending, it is going into everybody's homes. So how that change happens. So this is one of the examples of how art is changing the society. And then we talk about the time period when Britishers came and India was struggling for independence. This is a painting by Abanendranath Tagore from Bengal School of Art, and it is titled as the Bharat Mata. Now, there are few aspects again which I would like to speak about. First, that India is represented as Bharat Mata. So she's the woman who is being worshipped. So she becomes a personification of the country. So how is the country? We need to understand it from what are the objects that are depicted here. So in one hand, she's a four-armed figure. In one hand, you can see she's holding a piece of cloth. Another hand, she's holding a rosary. Then she's holding a manuscript and a sheaf of grass. Now, these four objects basically tell you about the self-sufficiency of the country. That India is a self-sufficient country where it can have its own agricultural produce, where it can produce its own cloth. It is also high in spirituality, and it has immense knowledge. So when we look at the iconography, when you try to understand the signs and the symbols of how India is represented, again, this basically shows what the artist perceived India to be like, and what is the message that he's trying to convey to the people through this particular image. But another controversial work, it is actually untitled according to the artist M.F. Hussain, but some people have given it again the title of Bharat Mata. Now, this is after independence. So here, how is the country represented? It is represented again as a woman. She's Bharat Mata. But then why is she shown as nude? And why is she crying? Because perhaps this is again a statement made by the artist of the condition of the country after the Britishers left the country. Because there were a lot of struggles, there were a lot of problems that the country had to face. There was poverty in country. So even though we were self-sufficient, there were a lot of social issues where again we would refer to other written records, literary records. But this is how the artist is trying to convey his ideas about uh, again how the society was. These are two paintings by the same artist called Amrita Shergill. Now, Amrita Shergill represented women. Again, you can see the three girls, 1935, and Mother India, 1935. What is the condition of the woman that we see here? So she is not really represented as a goddess. She is not represented as an entertainer or an object of pleasure. She's basically, not even like a beautiful woman, which is a conventional way of showing a woman. But here, the women, if you see, they're lost in their own thoughts. So they seem to be desolate, they seem to be isolated, and there's immense poverty. Again, what we're trying to show is that, the artist has tried to very silently convey the condition of women in the country, and this is how she perceives it. So it is not, again, you might not find details in other mediums, but in art, like suppose for instance when I talk about Mother India, now this painting, it won a gold medal in the annual art exhibition that happened in Bombay, and it left behind artists such as S.H. Raza and M.F. Hussain. So when a woman artist comes to the scene in the art market, so there's another term that is coming up, there's an art market, a woman who is progressing. This is also another aspect about, so even though her, when you look at the subject matter, it might show another aspect of woman, but she as a woman, as an artist, is progressing. So very slowly we are moving into a society where we are talking about equality again between the men and the women, and then the struggle behind that. Okay, coming to the modern time period, the contemporary, in fact, this is an installation by an artist called Subodh Gupta, and this particular work is titled as Everything is Inside. Now, what does it basically show? It of course, you can see that there is a taxi which is submerged, and it has a luggage which is kept on the top. Now, there are two objects here. One is the taxi. Why is the taxi submerged? The taxi is submerged because we're talking about a flood. So here we're talking about how the people are struggling and they're trying to survive during the times of the flood. And then the luggage which is kept on the top of the taxi, it is painted in golden color. What is the symbolism of the golden color? The golden color here symbolizes all that is very expensive in the sense something which is very important to you. So these are important personal belongings. You cannot save everything when there is a flood. It is only a few things that you would like to carry with you, something that is most important to you. So here again what we see is how the artist through an installation is trying to convey his own observations about a situation such as flood, and how the society basically again is represented through the symbols and colors. Another installation by a contemporary artist called Atul Dodia, and this particular installation is titled as Mahalakshmi. So he basically started by painting the shop shutters. And on this particular shutter, what we see is Mahalakshmi. Again, Lakshmi, we all know, is one of the most revered Hindu goddesses that is related to prosperity. But when you unfold the shutter, what you see inside is, women who are committing suicide. Why are the women committing suicide? It is because of the Lakshmi. How it is because of the Lakshmi? Because he's trying to make a comment on the society and demands of dowry. It is because of Lakshmi. So in India, when the woman itself is represented as the goddess, she's worshipped as the goddess. She herself is, being tortured for money and for dowry. So this again becomes a comment. Now, artwork like this, when it is installed for public, it brings a sense of consciousness. It again is a kind of a comment on what are the problems or what are the evils and vices that are existing in the society. So there are many examples such as these, when you look at from artwork from the ancient time period, whether it is in terms of architecture or painting or sculpture, in every medium. And today, like in contemporary art, you see that artists are experimenting with very unconventional mediums. So what we see is that in each time period, how the society, aspects of society get reflected, aspects of society get documented, and how the artist through his art expresses his observation about what is happening in the environment. And that becomes a very important, you can say, a historical document. Art in itself becomes a very important historical document that helps us to understand, and it also influences us. um, Over a period of time it has done that, and today also what we see is that it's a very powerful medium to change the society. With this, I would like to end my presentation for the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Manavpreet Kaur and Dr. Manvendra Singh. And now I would request to our admission nominee, Mr. Bhuvan Serene, to be on the screen. Over to you, Mr. Bhuvan Serene. Yes. Unmute yourself, Mr. Bhuvan, first.
Sorry, ma'am. Sorry. I'm audible? Ma'am, it was
Yes, you are.
insightful
You
session.
can continue.
Yes, because we are from a management background, so we hardly go through this here, historical things and all. So this was very, entertaining for us because if you are able to engage us, I think the 60 students might be able to, they can go back to the history and they can see the subject. It really is very relevant because there are many things which we are not able to relate in today's world. But once we go back to our roots, then we can see the actual history, and then they can actually go and implement this thing in a new way, which is missing in terms. So I just want to take you all the viewers to our website lpu.in. Like anybody who wants to join us in the programs like history, even in after class 12, we have a programs in BA, and then we are offering an honors program also. Even if you want to join us in master's program, so you can also join us. So quickly, I'll just share my screen. I hope my screen is visible to everybody.
Yeah,
So
the screen is
we
visible.
just need to go, yes, we just need to go to the website. It is lpu.in. And once you go to our website, you can quickly go through all the details which are having. And I just want to inform everybody that recently the students of LPU, they got a highest package of 2.5 crore. So that creates records among all the private university, where we tend to have private universities are not able to give you a better placements. So we have set up a new standard Like being a private university, we are able to give a package of 2.5 crore, and we have a 1700 plus students from LPU who got a package of 10 lakh to 1 crore. So it is not a story of a one or two guys. It is a story of a thousand students who are able to get a dream packages after passing out from a university. We have recently received the NAC rating A++, which is the highest. And in terms of NRF ranking also, we got the highest ranking in NRF also. So that shows the university is really working on these parameters. So our students are getting 1 crore package. So these are some of the highlights which are clearly visible, like in NRF 27, World University ranking ninth, World University ranking for innovation, we got the fourth, the impact ranking, we got the second. So that shows the kind of determination we are having. So I just want to quickly take you to the our website, and you can simply find out the programs from our admissions link. And in case you want to join us after class 12, you can go and explore the programs. After graduation also, we have these options available. Now, in case I just want to take you to the MA history program. So anybody who wants to join me in this program, they can quickly go through the website and they'll find out, okay, the programs and the details of the programs are available. I just want to show you this part, the research initiative, which hardly any of the universities are able to give you. 1000 plus publication count, that matters a lot. Expert interaction 100 plus. That means you, while staying in LPU, you can interact with 100 and plus experts while staying in a simple place. You don't have to go here and there. Citations 350 plus. Research scholars, if I want to see the research scholars for history programs, 425 plus research scholars are available. And in case you want to see the students' achievements, that Khed Watan Punjab Diya, that is the event conducted by Punjab government every year. The student from MA Hindi student, they got a gold medal in the hockey. So that shows my students are doing very well in academics. They are participating in the conferences. They are participating in this sports program also. So we are giving them exposure of all the activities while staying in a single basis. Now I just want to take you to some of the highlights. Like in this, the program, that the main highlight of university is that our fees depends upon the capability of the student. In case I'm getting very good percentile in my graduation, so my fees depends upon that. Normally, most of the universities are not favoring that situation, but LP is favoring that situation. Suppose I am I have done this my graduation, and I am a board university topper from a university which is among the top 50 in NRF, or they are among NAC A plus plus university. So in case I happen to be the university topper, I can get up to 100% scholarship. That means my tuition fees, my hostel, four-seater hostel, air cooler room, I will be getting as a part of my scholarship 100%. So I need not to pay anything for my hostel stay and tuition fees. That is a wonderful initiative taken by the university, which majority of the universities might not be able to give you. Other than this, in case my percentage in graduation, which is there like 95%, or in my class 12, it is 98%, I can get up to 70% scholarship to study in my university. Similarly, based on your graduation percentage, which is 90 to 94.9, or my percentile from 95 to 97.9, my scholarship will be around 60%. Similarly, 80% above in graduation and 90 to 94 point in class 12, the scholarship will be 50%. And in case I'm getting 70 plus in graduation or 80 to 89 percentile in my class 12, so my scholarship amount will be 40%. So you can see the fees from 50,000. It can be zero, it can be 15,000 per semester, very much affordable. So all depends upon your capabilities, and the process to apply is very simple. You can simply go to my website, apply now button is available. You can simply register yourself by mentioning your name and gender and basic details. Our team will get back to you and they can share you all the details. One more thing, that this class 12 scholarship is for the limited time only. So all students who wants to avail that benefit for this class 12 benefit, the scholarship benefit, so they can enroll and they can register themselves as soon as possible. Similarly, majority of my university, the program which we are offering, we are giving you the scholarship. So in case you are interested in any of the program, let me take you one of the more program like geography. In case you are interested in geography also, you can join us in this program, and you will find out all the programs along with their details, scholarship schemes, how to apply. The process is very simple to you. Along with this, I just want to take you to my website, and in case you have any concern in reaching out to us, we have a simple process. You can contact us, and you can reach us. Our outreach team members are available. Like in case you want to contact us, you can contact us. You just mention your number. We have an option of requesting a call. In case you want information on WhatsApp, let us know, that we will share the information on WhatsApp. You want to have a live counseling session, anybody who wishes to join, and I will request they can they can involve their parents also, that in case they want to involve their parents for the counseling session, just join us for the live video session. In case live video session is not available, even then you can search out. We have our offices available pan India. Our team is available pan India. You can simply go and find out. In case you are from, I'll take an example from Assam. Even if you are from Assam, which city you are from, in case you are from a city like Guwahati, so you'll find out our team members are available from 9 to 6. Their numbers are available. You can fix up your meeting. And in case you are watching us from, say, Jammu and Kashmir, from Jammu, our representatives are available. Their numbers are available. You can quickly go through and you can contact them. So similarly, all India, you can contact us and you can find out all the details. So this is done from my side. Any questions you have in your mind, you can let me know. We love to answer your queries.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bhuvan Sareen. Can we take questions now?
Yes, surely.
Dr. Manvendra, Dr. Manav Preet, and Mr. Bhuvan Sareen. Okay, Dilpreet is
Yes, yes.
asking here regarding placements. How are the placements, Mr. Bhuvan Sareen? How are the placements done in LPU and what's the process?
Uh, as I have already told, that 1700 plus students, they got a dream package that talks about my placements. So we are very serious in terms of placement. We are already proven our records, and we have set up a new standards which other universities are not able to do that. So getting a placement package of 2.5 crore, that speaks about the efforts we are putting up. And I don't want to compare myself, but in case anybody who goes to a local college in my town, also there are lots of local colleges. So if you see, there are only placement department, there are only one or two people are working. So one or two people might not be able to give you a better career options. In this university, we have a placement coordinator, academic coordinator. They will definitely, they are going to the industries. They are talking to the industry people. What do you want? What is the curriculum? What is the upcoming technologies you are offering? Even for their academics, if they are going to the industries, they are asking them, and they are after they reach back, they are giving the suggestions. There is an academic committee. They are giving them suggestion. We want this particular thing to be implemented in our curriculum. Immediately the next year, every year, I just want to take you a few minutes of yours. In our university, every year curriculum is being updated. Why? Because our students, we want our students to be acquiring a latest knowledge. You can't sell a Nokia 1100 today because nobody wishes to buy that. Everybody is going for iPhones. If you don't know the technology of today's world, you might not be able to no be placeable. You're not able to play. We might not be able to place you. For that, we are putting up efforts. We have our teachers, we have our academic coordinators, we have a full-fledged placement department to ensure that you are getting a quality placements.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Mr. Bhuvan. I hope, Dilpreet, you got your answer from our expert. Now, Gurpreet is asking Dr. Manav Preet, how does contemporary Indian art reflect the intersection of traditional and modernity in shaping societal values and identity?
I must say it's a very interesting question. When we look at contemporary art, we have a lot of new mediums. Like you have performance art, you have installation art, you have art which is conceptual. So where is the artist going to, of course the mediums are new, but what is the theme that the artist is going to represent? It is of course the theme that he gets inspired from in this society. An artist is somebody who is very very sensitive to receiving what is happening in the environment. Now he knows for sure, whoever is the artist, that what tradition we belong to, and what kind of artworks have been done in the past, what kind of messages or ideas or concepts have been the subject matter of art. Now what happens when you talk about the intersection is that the artist himself struggles sometimes to bring a balance in conveying what he wants to convey through the new mediums. So there is a lot of experimentation that is happening, there's a lot of criticism that is happening, but at the end of the day I think all artists today are expressing what they want to express on very serious matters, on some very controversial matters, but no matter, they are going ahead and they are challenging the norms and trying to influence the society today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Manavpreet Kaur. I hope, Gurpreet, you got your answer from our expert. Next question. Can we take the next question, Dr. Manvendra Singh and Dr. Manavpreet? Someone is asking here,
Yes, yes.
someone is asking here, how has the globalization of Indian art influenced the way Indian society is perceived both internally and on the world stage?
Okay, I think this question can be taken care by Dr. Manavpreet ma'am.
Sure. See, when we talk about India, there is one very important fact that we all must remember is that when British colonized India, they took a lot of artworks with them. So there's a lot of collection of the British, it's there in the British Museum, it is there in the Met Museum, in the Louvre. So when the artworks travel from one country to another, they're not just, objects which are precious. They also carry with them the cultural responsibility of representing what our country is all about. So when we talk about globalization, when we talk about how Indian art is moving to the West or it is moving to the East, one of the finest examples which I would like to talk about today is, you know, I was recently a part of the Indian Art History Congress, and the theme of the Congress was the representation of epics all throughout the world. So I wasn't really surprised to see that Ramayan has been represented. So there is only one example of Ramayan represented in panels from the Gupta time period in the 4th century. But when you travel to a country like Indonesia, when you travel to Myanmar, when you travel to Malaysia, Sri Lanka, there is immense artwork in terms of sculptural reliefs. In fact, the entire panels, starting in all the 7 Khans of Ramayana have been depicted in a temple like Prambanan temple in Indonesia. So India, when you talk about, especially let us say in aspect of religion, religion, whether it is Hinduism, whether it is Buddhism. So Buddhism, like today, you don't see much, being practiced in India. But when you move to the Eastern countries, you will see that there are very beautiful Buddhist temples. There are ancient temples. So how the culture moves from one place to another. So India is like, I would like to use the metaphor of a banyan tree where the cultural roots and the trunk is in the country and it has its branches spread all over the world. That's all.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much, Dr. Manavpreet Kaur. Mr. Bhuvan, someone is asking here, to LPU provide the residential facilities also?
Yes, we do have. We have residential facilities available in our campus. Students who wants to join us, they can opt for the residential facilities. And residential facilities, we have categorized in like apartments, and then we have a hostel categories. So all the students who wants to have, they can get the information and they can get their hostel booked also. So we have these facilities available in the campus.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bhuvan Sareen. And once again, thanks to our experts, Dr. Manvendra Singh, Dr. Manav Preet Kaur, and Mr. Bhuvan Sareen. I hope all the participants got their answers from our experts. As we come to the end of this webinar, I want to express my deepest gratitude to our experts for sharing their valuable insights and expertise with us. Your presence, enthusiasm, and active participation have made this experience truly special. Hopefully, the attendees found this webinar to be valuable and will be able to utilize the information for better decision making regarding admissions. If anyone wants to access this webinar again, they can visit our website, that is lpu.in, or can be accessed on YouTube also. Stay connected with us for future webinars. Until we meet again, with the permission of my seniors, I would be signing off this webinar. Take care and goodbye. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.